Hey, welcome to week 3. This is a good week because this is the week that you really get your hands dirty and you start to actually do some writing of your own. So the first couple weeks, very theoretical, and you're still going to be learning about how to produce and write good copy for news stories or for PR. But this is the week that you actually are going to be doing your own writing. So it's going to be an exciting week for you. You're starting to put it all together. I'll get into that. Before I go into this week, I just also want to quickly go over last week. You got your feedback from me from the exercise and the quiz. So going to the exercise, take a look at the feedback that I give you. I think I give you pretty good amount of feedback. I try to let you know what you need to improve because those exercises aren't supposed to be just done in isolation. The whole point is you're learning from it, and then you can apply that on your writing assignments and as you continue to move on in the course. So take the time to really take a look at what I said. If you don't understand something, please message me and I can go into more detail. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get across when I'm just giving the feedback on the document, and I think you might understand it, but if you don't, I want to make sure that you really get it because again, that's the kind of stuff that's going to make, applying what I tell you is going to make your work better moving forward. So take a look at the feedback. Let me know if you have any questions. Just overall for the class, it's hard doing it for the first time. I know that first assignment is always rough. And what you should have gotten out of it is learning to prioritize information. So you should be thinking as the reader, what would I want to know? And am I getting that in the correct order? So the most important information needs to be near the top, and then you go and you sprinkle down and give more broad information. And you're going to learn even more of that this week. So I guess it's a good time to break into what you're going to be doing this week. You're going to be reading chapters 7 and 8. So chapter 7 goes over your lead and your nut graph. And if that's completely foreign talk to you, by the end of this week, you'll have a much better understanding of what that is. But basically, your lead is your first sentence. And many people, and I'm one of them, think your lead is really the most important. If you don't have a solid lead, then the rest of your story just is not going to have any organization to it. That lead gives the who, what, when, where, why, and how, tries to get that information right near the top. And then your nut graph, which is probably the second most important paragraph in your writing, that gives more of the specific details so you understand why this story is important. So basically, after reading the lead and the nut graph, even if you didn't read the rest of the story, you should be able the reader would be able to kind of know what happened and could pass that information along to somebody else. Say, oh, did you hear about? And they could give enough information to talk intelligently about the story. So the lead and the nut graph, very important, but it's a style to it. So you're going to learn about that in the chapter. Then the next chapter is story organization, and that goes along more of even what you started doing with that last exercise, where the organization of where you put key information, what's the flow, why you should put certain information near the top, and then other pieces of information near the bottom. That's going to be explained to you in this chapter. So read those chapters, like I said before. Take notes, highlight, take notes. It's going to help you on your quiz, of course, and one of the reasons why I do the quiz is because I take out some of that key information that I think you should, know. But more importantly, it's going to help you then in your writing. So I'm going to be giving out your hard news story. Everything you're learning in that chapter is going to be applied in your actual writing too. So it's not that you're just studying that book just to get the good grade on the quiz. You also want to be learning those lessons because that's going to actually make you a better writer when it comes to writing these hard news stories or your feature stories or your final story that we do in this class. So even if it's not on the quiz, everything in that chapter, or mostly everything in that chapter, is important and is going to make you a better writer and ultimately do better in this class. So you got chapters 7 and 8. You don't have to read pages 125 through 134 though in chapter 7. It's not needed it's more detail than you're going to be doing in this class. So I'm not going to overload you with information. So that's your 2 chapters, and of course you have a quiz that will be due by the end of the day on Sunday. And that's to take the quiz. You don't have an exercise this week because you're going to be going right into writing your hard news story, which I'll give you the directions for in a minute. So there is no exercise for this week, but you will begin your hard news story, which is not due this Sunday, but due the following Sunday. So I'll get into more with that in a minute, but that's why you do not have an exercise. And then, of course, keep reading a few news stories each day. It's just going to make you see how others are writing. And again, we'll do a little bit more with it as the semester goes on, but for right now, it's just, again, seeing what others do are going to make you better by seeing how the professionals write. All right, so let's take a look here. You have your quizzes. Let's take a look at your hard news story. I talked about it a little bit last week, but let's get into more detail for this week. So you're going to write a hard news story. You're going to cover a live event that you attend in person, and this is key. You have to go to this event. So it can't be something that you're covering from, home or you're watching on TV. You actually physically have to go to this event. I'm going to skip down to the bottom here, and I know we talked about it last week. Some examples could be a concert, a sports game. And when I say sports game, it doesn't have to be a professional game. It could be your niece's soccer game. It could be, a local high school, a high school game, a college game, anything, some kind of actual live event, a live sport event, that counts. A town meeting, so our towns have meeting. Your town probably has a meeting once a week, usually about taxes or about, the council, their elected leaders meet. There's scheduled meetings. Attend one of the town meetings. Attend a town event. Sometimes the town holds something, especially now in the summer. They'll hold things over the weekend. For example, I live in the town of Newington. We're holding a touch a truck, so kids can come, and there's a bunch of trucks out there, and the kids can go and see the trucks, and the firefighters come. That's considered an event that you could go and cover live and talk about what's happening right there on the spot. Something the library's holding, a charity event, school board meeting, just something that you actually go physically. Now, I do kind of just want to put a little sidebar here. Usually when we talk hard news stories, it's a car crash, it's a police arrest, it's something along those lines, someone that's fire, something like that. Those are usually hard news stories when we think traditionally hard news stories. However, I'm not expecting you to go and cover a police chase, a fire, or a car accident. So this is the next closest thing to what I want to do as far as hard news. It's something that you can only go to once. It's in the moment. You have to get that information right there on the spot. That's along the lines of what we're thinking. So now that we know what you're going to be covering, you're going to do it in a Word document. Do not submit it on Blackboard or as a PDF. So you're going to do it as a Word document. And here's what your story must have. Not use any reporting from other stories or direct language from other stories. So let's say you go to some charity event, and the Hartford Courant covers it too. You cannot take paragraphs from the Hartford Courant and use it, or use some of the Hartford Courant's reporting as your own, or take a quote from the Hartford Courant and use it as your own. So even if another organization or journalist covers it, you have to just do your original reporting. You shouldn't be piecing this together from other stories. You have to have at least one human source. We learned about that in the textbook. One human source and 2 direct quotes that you obtain. So we just talked about interviewing, right, in the last chapter. You're going to have to interview people on the spot here. It's going to be uncomfortable for you. There's no way around it. These are people that you don't know. You're going to have to walk up to them, say, I'm a reporter. I'm doing a story for a class at the University of Hartford. Would you mind if I got a quote from you about attending the event, or whatever it is, or maybe it's the organizer of the event. And you'd be surprised. Most people are going to be flattered, especially because this is for a class. They want to help students out. Most people are going to be flattered. And they'll say, of course, I'd love to, and they'll give you the interview and they'll give you the quote. If you get somebody that just says, no, thank you, which when I was a reporter, that happened to me often, you say, okay, thank you for your time, and you move on to the next person. So be prepared. You might get rejected. Somebody might say, no, I don't want to talk to you, and that's fine. But it's going to be your job to find somebody to talk to. It can be the organizer of the event. It could be someone participating in the event. There's to be somebody just attending it, right? So it just has to be a human, at least one human source, so at least one person you're talking to, and 2 direct quotes. And we learned about quotes already in the chapters, but these are word for word. You got them word for word, what they said. You recorded it. It's between 500 and 650 words. It cannot be over, and it cannot be under. You got to get in this range right here. You have to have short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences, 5 at the most. So your paragraphs need to be short. 1-sentence paragraphs are fine. They're used in journalism. 5 sentences is kind of pushing it, but if you were going through, there should not be blocks of text. There should not be paragraphs with 6 sentences, 7+ sentences. 1 to 3 is what you're really aiming for, 5 at the most for each paragraph. And it has to be written in the third person, so past tense. Nothing present, right? It's all past tense. It already happened. We write everything as it already happened, and the book goes over that for you. So what am I going to be looking at when I'm grading this? Well, 1 is informative and well-researched. did you get the key information across to me? And a lot of these events I don't know about, so I'm going to read it. I'm going to say, do I understand now what happened? And if I don't, you probably didn't get enough information, or you didn't research enough for what you needed to. So get the information and make sure that you're telling it to somebody that's never been to this event, that doesn't know anything about it. So you've got to give the key information so they understand what's happening. I'm going to be looking at its organization, and one of the chapters this week talks about that. So is it organized? Is the key information where it should be? Are you bearing the lead? So basically, is the most important part of the story, is that not even mentioned in your lead? These are the kinds of things they're going to be looking at, and again, your chapter is going to help you out with this. I'm going to actually look at the focus, the lead too. Is the focus of the story and is the lead very clear? Is the writing clear, concise, and informative? And when I say clear, concise, part of that is, you'll see in the chapter, subject, verb, object, right? So our sentence is written where you have the subject start the sentence, the verb in the middle, object. Someone doing something to someone. So if that sounds very confusing to you, or you don't remember that from high school, the book will go over that. But I'm just giving you an example. Those are the kinds of things I'm looking at in your writing here. Are you being clear? Are you actually writing good English? Are you writing well in your story? The quality of quotes. So what kind of quotes did you get? Did you get good quotes from them? Could I tell that you conducted a good interview? We'll be looking at that. It's newsworthiness. This goes back from week 1, right? The so what factor. Who cares? Why is this story important? I kind of want to see this was a good story, that it has some kind of newsworthy factor to it. AP style. So we're going to learn AP style next week. So if you start writing your story this week, if you cover the event and start writing it this week, that's fine. What will happen is next week when we learn AP style, you're going to have to go back and edit for AP style. It's like the style that you write in. You probably used MLA from high school or APA. AP style is a different kind of style that journalists and people in media use. So don't worry too much about that this week. Next week, though, we will do AP style, and I'll look for that. How well the lessons from the chapters are being applied. So I already talked about that. What's in these chapters? Do I see that that's actually being applied in your story? And if it's free of spelling and grammar errors. So did you edit it and there's no careless errors in there? That's the basic story. If you have any questions, please message me and I can go into more detail if you're not sure about something. I don't want you to start this assignment if you're confused about anything. So please let me know. I'd be happy to clear any of this up. Also, you're going to have to message me regardless. It's here, but let me go back to assignments because I also put it there. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to this week's homework. That's where it is. You're also going to message me before the end of the week, hopefully as soon as you get an idea of what story you want to cover, because you're going to message me what it is that you want to cover, and I'm going to give you the go-ahead. So, hey, Professor Chiar, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. Just send me that message, again, through messages, and I'll write you back and say, hey, that sounds good. Or if I'm not sure about something, I'll say, just give me a little bit more clarification. Or maybe I say, no, that really won't count. You can't do that. So it's just so that we have approval. I know what your story is as the editor, right? I know what your story is, and I'm giving you the go-ahead. The sooner you do this, the better, because then you can plan for your week. My suggestion is that you find and cover an event this week. Do it this week. You could start writing it this week, but at the very least, then you start writing it next week. So you have 1 week to actually go cover the event, get all your notes, maybe organize your story. Next week to write it and edit it for AP style, and that's how you can get this done in 2 weeks. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a lot of work for you. So do not save this for the last minute, because if you cover an event on Saturday, in 2 weeks from now on Saturday, then you have to write it all on Sunday. It probably will be too much for you. So space it out. Find something that you have enough time to cover, and then 2 weeks is kind of crunch, but this whole semester is crunch, so we got to get it done within 2 weeks. All right, that is the basic outline for this week. Again, this was a lot of information to absorb. Please message me if you're confused about anything. I want to clear it up, whether it's a past assignment, whether it's this assignment, anything at all. It's better to have open communication. And then, of course, you do have to be messaging me as soon as possible to let me know what it is, the event that you want to cover, and I'll give you the approval or let you know if there's any questions, and then we'll go from there. All right, this is a hard week, but it's a fun week, right? This is where you get to actually put all the lessons we're learning and start to apply it. So I'm looking forward to seeing these.